And welcome back to Hot and Cold Podcast. Today is February 22nd, Tuesday. We have had an eventful weekend of college basketball. And we also had a game Monday that I'm sure we're going to spend a lot of time on at the beginning of this show. But before we do that, Connor, how are we doing today?
Pretty good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Are you doing better than you were last night?
Yeah.
I was worried about you. I was worried about you on the Twitter sphere. Yeah, because if you don't follow Hot and Cold Pod on Twitter, first of all, what are you doing? You need to. And I let Connor run that most of the time. You can tell who's tweeting from the account. Last night was all Connor. There was a lot happening. So let's just dive right into it actually. So last night Indiana goes into Ohio State. They don't play well. I'll just say that they don't play well for about 15 minutes of the game. In regulation, they end up taking the lead. Ohio State goes ice cold from the field. And I think they were up by as much as 6, right? It was either 4 or 6. Yeah. Ohio State comes back in the last minute to tie it at 63, and they end up winning 80-69 at the end of the game. So there was a lot of stuff to unpack in that game because this isn't the first time Indiana's done something like this. They have a major problem in closing games. They did it against Wisconsin. They were up against Illinois, but they weren't really going to win that game. And then they almost blew it against Purdue. So, and that's just some games. And this happened a lot of times. I just can't think of it off the top of my head. So we talked about this on the pod. Indiana needs to get to 20 games to ensure their spot in the NCAA tournament. Right now, they're sitting at 16-10 with 4 games to go at Minnesota. Rutgers at home. Help me out here.
We've got Maryland at home and then
Maryland at home and then at
Purdue.
Purdue. Yes. So, like I usually do when we talk Indiana, I let Connor kind of dictate what we're going to talk about. So, Connor, you had a night to sleep on it. You're not as distraught as you were last night. So I'm going to let you formulate an opinion, formulate a take, and I'm going to let you go.
There was a stretch in the game last night. I think it was 59-55. And I think they got a steal. Tamar missed a layup. Ohio State goes down, misses again. Xavier Johnson goes down, gets thrown, like blocked. I think it went to like the 3rd row.
Yeah.
I mean, you go up 6 or 8 points there, it's over. Like you just have to capitalize on that. But there's kind of been this narrative about winning the big games this year. You know, they beat Purdue and they beat Ohio State at home. And it's interesting because I don't think Woodson has coached well at all this year. And people are going to say, well, the defense is really good. Is that him, though? Or is that Five? Because I'm pretty sure he's in charge of the scouting and the defense, or at least he has been in other places. So I'm not even sure he should get the full credit for that. But I was talking about it on Twitter last night that people were saying that, Woodson's won games that Archie wouldn't have won. And is that true? I don't necessarily know if that's true. Obviously, Archie didn't beat Purdue, but he won 5 games against the AP top 25 in 2019, 2020. He had at least 2 every year, which, by the way, Indiana only has 2 wins this year against top 25 teams. And I don't really get it. I got burned by being an Archie supporter for longer than most people.
There was a time. There was a time to get off the boat, and it was kind of prevalent when it was the time, and you kind of stayed on and you lingered for a bit. Yeah,
I was the loyal Archie Miller truther for the longest time, and I got burned by it. I admit the mistake. I'm not doing it again, and I'm not out on Woodson or anything yet, but the fact that it's not even like his fault at all. He just, growing pains. This is expected. No, come on. Like this was a tournament team. The talent that they have, whether it fits or not, should at least make the tournament. Whatever, you can say he's maximized the wins, and I can agree with that to a certain degree, but their schedule has been ridiculously easy. Like, all you had to do was go 500 in the Big Ten. All you had in the Big Ten's terrible. It's not good. Like, it's really not good. And you beat the top team in the Big Ten. Like, so it doesn't even make sense. And they prove that they can do it because they flip this switch and Ohio State doesn't score for 7 minutes and they take the lead. And it's like, where is that? Where is the consistency from this team? I don't know who to blame it on. For years I said Archie couldn't coach because it was Green's players. Well, now Woodson's got Archie's players, and I'm hearing the same excuses. And I'm like, well, that didn't work when I said that. That wasn't allowed when I said that, and I ended up being wrong. And we're in the same mode again. So fine, this year he can get a pass. I still think it's a big red X. If they don't make the tournament next year. He has the capability to clear the roster, get all of his guys in, get everybody else out, which, by the way, there aren't that many Archie guys left that really contribute at this point. Like, there really aren't that many. I mean, good God, Race is not even an Archie guy. He's a Crean guy, theoretically. But I get him out. I mean, every other team does this. Miller Kopp should not be here next year. Xavier Johnson should not be here. Like, they just shouldn't be here. There's no need for that. Lander probably shouldn't be here. Parker Stewart probably shouldn't be here either, even though he played pretty well last night. I think they might have found something. Putting the ball in his hands is maybe a little wrinkle in the offense that they can do. Trace is going to leave, and Race is probably going to leave. I think Rob probably leaves too, just because he's been here forever. He's got hurt. He's hurt again, so I don't know how much longer he really wants to play and continue to battle through injuries. But
by the way, I don't want to step on your rant. What a time to be hurt right now, because he's the one his last game you'll remember is putting up like 30 against Purdue or 20 plus, and then he's not around for these games. So you can just say, oh, we didn't have Rob.
Again, yeah, there's that excuse. You could say that. It's like they don't have Rob. They didn't have Trey. I mean, Trey Galloway last night would have been very helpful against Malachi Branham, who's really good. But there's always something that IU fans can. Well, we didn't have this. Well, it's not his play. I mean, when's it going to end? You can't tell me they shouldn't have won these games. Like, you can't tell me they shouldn't have beat Wisconsin the first time. They shouldn't have won this game. They shouldn't have won the Iowa game. I mean, the list goes on and on every year, it seems like. So, you know what? Whatever. But he can have a pass this year. But next year, no excuse. The offense is a joke. We were promised this free-flowing 4-out, 1-in offense, and I get it. The personnel does not fit that. Also, kind of your fault for playing 2 players that don't fit that personnel very well. Race and Trace don't fit that. And I don't know if he was just naive about that and thought Race could shoot threes, but it doesn't really work. And whose fault is that? I mean, he could have gotten someone in the portal. And I talked about it last night. I can't believe I was even saying it, but you switch Severe Wheeler and Kellen Grady with Parker Stewart and Xavier Johnson. What is Indiana's record?
Oh,
What is
it's
Kentucky's
it's
record?
great. Oh my gosh, Kentucky would not be where they are today. Like
I mean,
they have Oscar
seriously.
and Ty, but like Indiana would benefit greatly from that. And I saw on Twitter, look, I see what happens on Twitter. Um, there were people saying that, or there was one person, I won't say his name, that Xavier Johnson has been effective or as effective as Severe Wheeler
Oh
by
yeah,
doing a blind resume. Look,
bad.
there was one stat I saw that really separates them: 7.1 assists compared to 4.2. It doesn't seem like a lot on paper. In college, 3 assists. I mean, that's how much Colin Gillespie is averaging. Like, and he's like an All-American guard. So that is a huge discrepancy.
It
And if you watch the
major.
games, Severe Wheeler is single-handedly getting his offense started. He's getting across the half court line in like 2 seconds, and the defense can't get set up, and that's huge. And he's not really having 5 turnovers in the first 3 minutes.
You
So
can't just look at those numbers. There's so many things that a point guard does that doesn't show up in the stat sheet. The pass to the assist, the setting up of the offense, getting everybody in check.
Severe Wheeler went 3 games without making a field goal, and he was still arguably the most important player on that team in getting
Yeah.
the win. So
A point guard changes everything. And Xavier Johnson has not done that. He's effectively lost them games. And it's sad to say. I mean, I will say this though, he did make 10 free throws last night. I haven't seen an IU player shoot 10 of 10 from the free throw line
that was huge.
in a long time. But another thing that I'm going to talk about that I've kind of brought up before, but it's I don't know how serious it's been. Trace again for the last 10 minutes of the game, not even last, well, overtime, if you count overtime, and then the last 5 minutes, completely vanished.
Yeah.
Nowhere to be found. Didn't know where he was. Even Brandon Gaudin, I think, said it last night. He was like, well, he hasn't made a shot. He hasn't done anything. That just can't happen. Like, I don't know how that happens. I don't know whose fault it is. If I'm the best player on a team, I'm demanding the ball.
Yeah.
Get me the ball like now. And it just doesn't seem like he really does that. He also continues to miss just critical free throws over and over again. It's honest. Like, I'm telling you, Xavier Johnson going 10 for 10 is like a miracle. But no, I don't think they get to 20 wins. They have to, I mean, even beating Rutgers is going to be difficult. I think they could win 3. And their first round matchup in the Big Ten tournament's probably, it's Iowa right now. It could be Michigan. Personally, I'd probably rather play Iowa. I know Michigan's in a lot of turmoil right now, but Hunter Dickinson's just a terrible matchup for them. And I think Iowa is probably the better matchup. But I don't have any confidence in them winning that game. It will be interesting to see if they accept the NIT invitation. Last time they were in the NIT, they declined to host, which I was fine with. I couldn't have cared less if we hosted an NIT game. And then they went and lost actually to a Georgia Tech team that was not good.
What
But
Kentucky did with
yeah,
Robert Morris. Yeah. Same thing.
I mean, what's the point? Just don't go. Like, just say, no, we're good. We've got injuries, which they could actually say, like, hey, we're not healthy right now. We're dealing with some stuff. Let's just not do it. I don't think it would be good for the program in any way to go to the NIT unless the only way it looks good is if you win it, I guess. And even then it's kind of embarrassing that you would be celebrating an NIT win. Maybe hang a banner for it. I don't know.
I still make fun of Memphis for winning it last year, so I would not accept the invitation now.
Yeah. So I don't know. We're gonna see how they finish down the stretch. I mean, I said it last year and I said it repeatedly that they could still make the tournament. They have to go 4-0 and win at Purdue. We're gonna find out how fluky that home win was when we go to Mackey, because I would guess that they're going to destroy us by a lot.
Okay, so there's always numbers about, okay, Indiana hasn't beaten so and so in like 8 straight games. You know, there's always those numbers, and it usually stems from the Archie era that they haven't won. Do you know off the top of your head when the last time they won at Purdue was?
No,
I
not
don't know.
recently.
I don't know
Like,
either, because I was genuinely curious. I'll look it up.
I can't remember if Crean. I mean, I know Crean beat them at home, but I can't remember if they actually beat them on the road either. They definitely didn't during the Archie era. But I mean, that just doesn't. I can't even. That had to have been so long ago if they did. But the collapses. I think it's you've kind of, now that you're kind of ingrained in the IU fandom and have gotten to see it more in a firsthand, you can see why the fans are so frustrated.
2013. 2013. Not that long
2013.
ago. Yeah.
Okay, so was that
By
that team was
37.
really good.
By 37 points.
That Purdue team was probably terrible.
Yeah, that was the team.
But you've seen the, I don't know how to say this, the frustration that IU fans have gone through and like how everything has happened. And you asked the question, why is the leash shorter for Woodson potentially than it is for Archie? I think it's a fair point. Woodson doesn't have a good resume. He was solely hired because he basically played at IU.
Yeah.
And, he had some good seasons in the NBA, but overall his record is not very good. And he was in some bad situations. I'm not going to fault him for that. But maybe he just can't. The recruiting is one thing.
Right.
The recruiting is one thing. We've had good recruiters as our coach. Tom Crean is a good recruiter. Or he was. I wouldn't say he is now. Doesn't mean it leads to wins. And it did for some seasons. It did. And I think next year and maybe the year after, if he gets to third year, I mean, he only signed a 4-year deal. So
he's old too. Like he doesn't have that
Yeah.
many years in the tank. So it's like, win now.
Yeah. And he keeps saying, I've got to get him over the hump. And I can't handle that anymore.
Dude, you would have died like 3 years ago if you were a fan of Kentucky. You can't pay attention to those press conferences because the stuff that Cal says, you don't really pay attention to it, but I see it, and it's outrageous, some of the stuff he says. Like if there's an injury on the team, they'll ask him the day of the game. This has happened in the NCAA tournament for our star player, PJ Washington, when he was out. They asked him in the press conference, what's this PJ status? And he literally sits there and tells the audience, oh, I haven't even seen him. I don't know.
I mean,
just so he doesn't even have to answer the question. Like he would drive you insane as if you're paying attention to the press conferences. I'm just saying.
I think Woodson's actually being serious though.
Maybe.
And he keeps repeating it. And it's like, what have you been doing for 2 months? If you haven't accomplished this one goal, like, I don't know what have you been doing?
Yeah.
So it's fine. We don't have to talk about Indiana anymore. It's not really worth our time.
One more thing. What in the world was Xavier Johnson doing when he tried to tie up EJ Liddell?
I don't even know.
I saw people saying, how is that a T on Xavier, and they were just like, "Well, you didn't watch the replay. It was a lot worse than I thought it was."
Suspend him for a game. I don't care. I
You're
really
all
don't care.
about it. I
Just get him out.
I'm just worried for your sake, and we can end it on this. That the Mike Woodson era, you may see the exact point where the downfall started. And that was when 5 players got suspended against Northwestern, and you only scored 51 points.
Yes, that, and not to go back on something that I said last night, but the biggest mistake that Archie ever made, and he was behind on the 8 ball the rest of his tenure here, was because he re-recruited all of Tom Crean's players.
Sure.
Probably the worst decision he made to this day, and would probably admit that in like a one-on-one conversation that was off the record, that he should not have done that. I am afraid that Woodson is going to regret that, because these guys are going to be around, I think, if they don't leave, and they could be around for a while. And especially, I can kind of say that, but he also brought in some transfers, but it's this whole idea of this makeshift roster where he just had to plug guys in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they're here next year, I mean, if Xavier Johnson is back and starts over Hood Schifino at point guard next year, that's an indefensible action. And you just can't do that. You're stunting the growth of your player. I mean, Tamar Bates has to play 40 minutes the rest of the season. You saw the flash last night. You saw it. The consistency has started to pick up the more he's played. And look at Malachi Branham. I mean, the dude is a stud.
Yeah.
He's played all year. Probably struggled early on. That's what freshmen do in the Big Ten.
He did. Remember Ohio State had so many problems with guard play early in the season? Now he's
lower rated than Tamar. I refuse to believe that he's more talented than Tamar Bates is.
Was a 5-star.
Play the kid. Play him. I just don't understand. I mean, and then to top it all off, I've been trashing Miller Kopp for 2 weeks now. He sparks the run, and you can't even find him where's he at? He's not even on the floor at the end of the game. Those are the questionable decisions that make me wonder if he can even coach outside of the recruiting aspect.
And I agree. It's just a lot of, I mean, go back, watch the tape. This is the last thing, and then we'll move on to Juwan Howard. Go back, watch the tape. The offense is actually inconceivably bad. Like, there's no movement outside of on the ball, and it's just all ISO, Xavier getting to the rim, where they give it to Trace and he tries to do a put. Like, it just didn't work last night. And they played good defense for a stretch, for a good period against Ohio State. But it just wasn't going to work. My favorite play from last night, that kind of just summed up the season, and nobody's going to talk about it. Trace got a rebound and tried to fire it off an Ohio State guy out of bounds, and ended up throwing it off his own team.
Okay. Yeah. It was funny last night, to shout out Bryson. He said, you know, that layup that guards get in college basketball where you seal the center off and you just lays it in.
Oh, when you
happens all the time. You seal the big.
Yeah.
It happened last night, and they make other open shots, and Bryson's just sitting there with me, and he goes, why do other teams get open shots and we don't? Like, why does that happen? I was like, what? I really don't know. Like, the IU does not get open shots. Like, rarely do you see them actually get open looks on a consistent basis.
They also help on defense, which, they help a lot on defense, which helps, like, with their defensive rating. They make a lot of stops, but it also leaves open some guys in the corner, some guys in the wing. Like, that's what got Jamari Wheeler open for the shot that took the lead for Ohio State last night. So it's not good. Not good. Let's talk about Juwan. So Sunday afternoon, It was a good slate of games Sunday afternoon.
Yeah.
I don't want to like overshadow that. Like this was a good game for most of the game. Wisconsin obviously pulled away, but well, yeah, okay. Well, I'll give it to you in sequence as if you have never heard it before, but I might as well just in case there are listeners that don't know the full story behind it. Um, Wisconsin was up 16 or 15, I believe, on Michigan. 15 seconds left. All the backups were in. I had the game off. I had to replay it. I started watching Providence Butler, which was a fantastic ending. So Michigan's pressing Wisconsin. Backups are in. Wisconsin gets the ball in. They're having trouble getting past half court. They call timeout. Greg Gard is helping his backups out so they don't, it doesn't demoralize them that they can't get past half court. Juwan Howard does not like the timeout. He sees it as disrespectful, whatever. So after the game in the handshake line, he tries to pass Greg Gard. Greg Gard, I didn't see it as a grab, like a disrespectful grab. I saw it as, hey, chill out. Like, I didn't mean to disrespect you. And if you watch the tape back, Juwan Howard, and I quote, I don't want to cuss unless I'm quoting somebody, says, "Don't fucking touch me." And then it leads into a big altercation. A lot of punches were thrown, a lot of haymakers by the players, by the way, which was something. But the big story is Juwan Howard throwing a punch slash slap slash grab, whatever it was. I don't think he got what he wanted to get, by the way, on the contact against Wisconsin's assistant coach. This finally, it comes, in my opinion. I get that there's always stuff that leads up to an altercation. It's not always just one side. That's the problem. But there's always one side that crosses the line and always the one side that looks bad. Malice at the Palace, I'm the biggest Pacers fan you can find right now because they're not very common. But Malice at the Palace, Pacers came out looking terrible when in reality it was a brawl, but the Pacers are the ones that went into the stands. They crossed the line. So Juwan Howard comes out looking bad. Even worse look, which I'm the only one that's kind of like, oh, I don't really care about that. When Juwan Howard didn't come out and apologize, I don't get why there was such outrage that he didn't apologize, because I wouldn't have apologized, because you're not going to get anything from that. So he just says he explained himself. It was a stupid reason, whatever. Shouldn't have thrown a punch. Suspended for the rest of the year. I like Torres posted this. I liked it, so I'm going to use it for myself. This is like enacting a postseason ban on yourself when you know you're not going to make the tournament. Season's done. Just suspend them the rest of the year. It'll look like you care. Overall, net neutral, doesn't really do anything at all. Like, it has no impact on college basketball whatsoever. But it is something. There's a question to be raised. Is Juwan Howard unfit for this job? Because same thing happened last year. Mark Turgeon. I don't remember. He didn't throw a punch, did he? He didn't actually.
I think they just yelled at each other, right?
Yeah, I don't think he made physical contact. I remember he was kind of charging the bench a little bit, though. Because it wasn't during the handshakes. He was walking towards their bench, I remember. So this is the second time he's done something with another coach. And these happen all the time, these skirmishes, whatever. But seems like he is kind of, inept into actually interacting with these other coaches. So, Connor, do you have a take? You have an interesting opinion on Juwan Howard that most people don't have that are Big Ten fans. So go ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I've stated before I am a Heat fan, not a LeBron fan, Heat fan. And
Not
that's
all
where
about that.
he was an assistant coach for them, actually their top assistant.
Yeah.
And I trust Eric Spoelstra, who is their head coach. I trust his judgment. He's one of the smartest coaches in the NBA. If he says Juwan's a good coach, then I think he is a good coach. As far as if he's fit for a college job, I don't know. I think he was on track to become an NBA coach, but the
Yeah.
Michigan job opens up. It's where he went to school, so he obviously went back. I think that maybe, I don't know if he's going to regret that or not. I don't know if he's fit for college just because maybe it's a different game. I will say that he definitely did cross the line. I still think that he can come back from this, obviously, but the two people that he's had some incidents with.
This is a weird take. I'm going to let you finish it. This is a weird take.
Nobody likes Mark Turgeon. Nobody likes him. Nobody. And again, Big Ten, you're not really ingrained in it yet, kind of more than you were. Mark Turgeon is an asshole. I mean, it was just 2 seasons ago that he let Jalen Smith do what he did to the Indiana crowd. And it was completely ridiculous. And I don't really
Everybody does that to the Indiana crowd.
Everybody does it, but it was worse. It was worse than what Johnny Davis did.
Look, I've been in those student sections and they're screaming at the players the entire game.
Absolutely.
Look, it's a fun environment. Screaming F you, whatever. So when the other team wins, you saw Johnny Davis do it. Andre Curbelo, I saw him doing it.
Theirs were not even close to the level of what
Jalen Smith was yes, it was a bit much what he
was
did
like almost face to face with people on the court.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
About to. Anyway, but Mark Turgeon does not have a good track record. He is. I don't like him, and a lot of people don't like him. And Wisconsin, on the other hand, I think Assembly Call tweeted this. They're just the most punchable team in the Big Ten. I mean, I can't stand them. Greg Gard is just, and Brad Davison, all the whole thing they got going on over there. I don't like him. I'm obviously, I don't think he should have slapped the dude in the face, but it's not like, I mean, that dude was going after Michigan's players. So it's definitely the scenario of.
I don't know about that. I watched the video and it was mostly this, when this move for the video was this move. That is sure. A diffuse move. That it's not a push. It's a diffuse.
Just to play devil's advocate. We don't know what he said though. We don't know what he was saying.
That's fine. I think it looked like he was more diffusing than actually.
Maybe he was clearing them out to get right at Juwan.
To get to Juwan. See, yes, I'm for that take. Yeah. No, what you're saying, and look, I know where you're going. I get it. As an Indiana fan, you have these opinions for these Big Ten coaches, but for a national story, how many people who watch college basketball know who Greg Gard is?
Probably not very many.
Less know that assistant coach. I don't even remember his name, to be honest. I just, he had a cool last name. It was cool looking. What was it? Do you remember the assistant coach's last name?
No, but I did. They did spell his first name wrong in the Michigan did in the apology. Did you see that?
Oh, that's pretty great.
You didn't see that?
No, I did not.
They spelled the Wisconsin assistant coach's name wrong.
I gotta find this. Did Michigan basketball post it on their Twitter?
Probably, I would assume, or Michigan Athletics or something. But there was like this whole thing that they spelled his first name wrong. And
okay, here we go. Here we go. No, it's not this one.
They probably corrected it.
Yeah, I'm assuming they had to at that point. But yeah, I
By the way,
it's
I'm not defending Juwan. It was definitely a case of one side escalates things, the second guy gets caught red-handed. It happens all the time. Like in
I
any
don't
fight,
think
the
that
second guy
I
gets the
don't think Wisconsin escalated it. Like I think Jawan was pissed from the beginning. Like I get he tried to do the blow
absolutely.
by on Greg Gard, but like
If
Greg
Greg Gard
Gard
doesn't,
didn't want to
if
be disrespected. Like, do you understand what I'm saying? Like, Juwan Howard tried to blow by Greg Gard, and I saw people saying, "Oh, he shouldn't have grabbed Juwan Howard." If somebody's blowing by me after it was an intense game. It was an intense game the whole way through. Like, and Johnny Davis prevailed, and it sucks that we're not talking about the actual game because of this. And I thought that was selfish as hell of Juwan Howard, but he tried to blow by Greg Gard without even talking to him. As a coach, I get it's kind of archaic, whatever, but if the warm up or if the handshake line is happening, like Cal doesn't even, he's not even doing the handshake line right now. Cal isn't. But if it's happening, um, then just shake his hand and get it over with. You can be pissed about it in the press conference, whatever, but you are acting like a baby. And then so Greg Gary grabs him and is like, dude, I wasn't trying to do it. And he said, get your fucking hands off me. Those are fighting words. That is escalation.
probably, but you don't really know what Greg Gard said. Again, just playing devil's advocate. He could have
Sure.
been.
There's a video where I could probably decipher it, but I didn't really want to. I'm not an investigative reporter.
Juwan said, "I'll remember that."
He did say, I'll remember that.
And Greg Gard was, again, one could say is like, he could be like, "Oh, remember what? I didn't do anything. You're the one in the wrong." And then he could have said that. Maybe that sparked it. I don't know. Both coaches did dumb things. Michigan shouldn't have been pressing. Wisconsin really calling a time. I mean, the timeout's dumb. Timeout doesn't happen if you're not pressing. So it's a mutually better. I mean, both things could have just not happened.
It's
Both
just
things
dumb.
they're just, both of them are immature, in my opinion.
The
I think
timeout happens in every game. Like I'm not like that's not a
to make the
rare
sub
thing.
though, to make the subs.
Sure, yeah. For
The subs were already in.
Yeah,
it's dumb. I don't. Both of them. Just
I hate that it's such a national story too. Like I know we talked
yeah.
about it for a long time, but like, really, is it really that big of a deal? Like, just grow up. Whatever. Let's stop talking about Juwan Howard. I don't like him. I never have. You know that. So
is it because he's at Michigan though?
it's kind of that. It's kind of that I've called that Michigan team frauds for
That's
seasons straight. 2 seasons straight. So it's hard for me to get behind the guy behind that.
Yeah.
Because I just haven't liked those teams. I just haven't seen what everybody else has seen, and that's fine. But kind of moving on, Kentucky takes on Alabama. Connor came over for the game. That was the first Kentucky game that we've watched together this season.
Yeah, usually try to avoid watching the games with me.
And now I avoid or you avoid? I think it's kind of mutual.
It's probably mutual.
It's a bit of both.
Yeah.
Well, in the first 5 minutes of the game, you saw why I avoid watching the games with you, and then for the last 35 minutes, you see why you avoid watching the games with me, or however long it took for Kentucky to go on that run in the first half. So Kentucky, incredibly shorthanded, no severe, no tie. Walk into Rupp Arena against a blazing hot Alabama team who started off the game on fire. Keon Ellis hit so many threes. It felt like 1,000 threes against us. And look, we weathered the storm. There's not much else you can say. We were down 13 in the first half. We weathered the storm, went on a 13-0 run when we were down 12. And then we ended up going up 1 point out of nowhere. Like we were getting dominated that entire half, and we went up one going into half. And then we just never let go after that. Look, it was impressive. It was a very impressive victory. I see people trying to say that was more impressive than Kansas. That was more impressive than Tennessee, just because we were shorthanded. I disagree. I think we've shown enough that Davion and Kellen Grady are serviceable that we maybe not expect a win out of them, but expect a battle. And I mean, that's what we got. Look, I think the biggest storyline is Jacob Toppin actually being able to play that small forward position and not be, a negative. Like he played fantastic perimeter D. He was able to step into like what felt like 97 mid-range shots and they were going in. Like that's huge if he can add that to his game. He was able to take guys off the dribble and finish well. Like I thought he was playing like an actual perimeter player, and that was really cool to see. Keon, obviously, he was hitting his mid range. Connor was killing me with his comments on the mid range because I thought he was Nate Oates when we were watching this game. I thought he was Nate Oates. And yeah, Oscar, obviously, big game, 20 and 14, whatever, rinse and repeat. But I like this team. I mean, look, if we're able to rest our guys, rest Severe, rest Ty, and maybe not drop a game, which would be incredible. I would love that. Like if they're able to sit this LSU game on Wednesday, tomorrow, and then they're able to rest them until this Arkansas game on Saturday, that'd be huge. That really would be huge. Your thoughts on the game?
Did Alabama go up in the AP poll?
Ooh,
I thought I saw something about that.
Well, they won against Mississippi State earlier in the week, which I mean,
because I wasn't sure if they did or not. I thought I saw.
Yeah,
something
they went up.
that.
They went up one spot. They were at 25. 24.
Why?
You don't like Alabama.
Why did they go up?
I'm wondering, did somebody lose at the?
I mean, even then, they beat Mississippi State by 5 and then lose on the road to a short. Like, I don't understand how that's grounds for them to go up. I don't know.
Let's see who dropped out.
They're just not a very good team. Like, I get it. They're very volatile. That it was clear. And I actually sparked Kentucky's run. I tweeted it, and almost immediately after I tweeted that their offense was going to regress just back to the norm. I mean, good God, they were shooting like 8 of 10 from 3. If anyone thought that was going to continue, it just was crazy. And I mean, they couldn't score a basket. I mean, they're no offense at all whatsoever, which is kind of crazy to me because they have good guards.
Yeah.
The system is just so flawed, and you're not going to win very many games like that. I mean, maybe you upset somebody. I don't know what seed they're going to be. I mean, it's not really going to be an upset,
right?
Unless they win 2 or 3 games. But
no,
they are another team that could be a 5-12 upset if they shoot bad. My
thing about Nate Oates' philosophy, and tell me if I'm stupid, but I've kind of been working on this take for a while. Tell me if I'm stupid. When his philosophy, obviously, 3-point or layup, nothing else, right? Or get to the free throw line. Doesn't that kind of limit your offense when there's an entire portion of the court that the defense knows you're not going to shoot from? Like, doesn't that kind of limit your offense and kind of give the defense an idea of how to guard you? Like, I get it worked last year. It worked last year. They had better players. And it like the philosophy works out. But like, you look at this team who's fine, like this team with a different philosophy, there may be a top 15 team. Like they have good guys on this team. But you are just getting rid of an entire portion of the court. And you saw Kentucky was shooting like, I feel like half of like most of their makes were from mid range. Like it felt like that, but they were hitting them.
And I'm okay with the all threes and layup off. Like that's fine,
It
but
makes sense. Sure.
it's how you get those shots. I mean, they're just chucking threes. Like there's no movement. It's just shooting from 30 feet. Like there's no drive and kicks. There's nothing, no screening going on. Like it's just, I mean, there's maybe one pick and roll. It's not even an all. There's no offense. Like it's just nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the issue. The looks that they're getting. I mean, Ellis made they weren't open threes.
None of them.
Maybe one or two of them were open, but most of them were heavily contested.
With Toppin on him, like our longest wingspan, like the highest jumping guy, like he was hitting him over the
So that's my issue with the offense. It's not with the philosophy itself. I wish IU would do something like that, but I wouldn't throw the mid range out completely because at some point you're going to need it. But like you said, Kentucky took a lot of them, and I didn't like them.
Which I think they kind of had to when you have their offense relies on kind of that three spot gets a lot of shots no matter what. It always has, but when you have Toppin running that, you can't really set a play up for him to get open from three. Your 3 and 4 are both mid-range specialists in that lineup, and that's, it's whatever. It's not new age at all. Like it's fine, but I mean, when everybody on your team can hit a mid-range, you're going to take a lot of them. So I mean, it's kind of archaic, but if they can beat a team that's all the way bought into this new 3-point, 3-pointer layup challenge, like it says
just playing the numbers game. If Alabama doesn't cool off, they probably get blown out.
Oh,
by
100%.
playing that game.
100%.
Most of the time, a team is going to cool off, and you'll be able to just kind of stick around, hang around long enough, and then when they hit that cold stretch, then you're good to go.
And you have enough trust in your defense to have them not stay that hot throughout the game.
Yeah, I just don't think Alabama is good. I don't get it. There's some teams in the SEC that are still ranked, highly ranked in these metrics, and I don't get it.
Well, Alabama, they get a lot from their strength of schedule. They have the number 1 strength of schedule in the country from Kim Palm, I think says. So they benefit greatly from that because, they played a tough non-conference. They did. And now they're in a good conference. They're struggling, obviously, but they've strung together enough wins to just make it weird, to just be weird. And that's something that's valuable to the committee. So we'll see how they do. What else should we talk about before we go off? Is that it? Is that always
just want to shout out Iowa, by the way, though. I know we mentioned earlier about the Big Ten tournament. They did get their first quad 1 win after I was trashing them.
That's all. That's what you guys, if you guys want to pay us on Venmo, whatever, we will trash your team so they can end up getting a win that they shouldn't. Yeah.
First one of the year. Congratulations. Welcome to the party. Not many tournament teams without a quad 1 win. Glad they weren't the first tournament team ever without a quad 1 win, because that would have been really interesting. I honestly don't know if that's true. I would assume that other than like the automatic qualifiers from like the mid majors.
So you're saying the at-large bids have always had quad 1 wins?
I would assume so. At least one.
Well, it's a very new concept, the quad 1. So I don't know.
But even
so
I don't know. There's teams like, maybe Belmont a couple years ago didn't have one.
No, they would have, because I think Murray
they would have beaten Murray. But I don't. Yeah, they should have one. I don't know. I seriously don't think a team could get in the tournament without at least one of them. So it's unfortunate. Next year we'll have to keep an eye out for it.
Yeah, we need to do some serious research on that. That would be hard to figure out, but we can figure it out. Yeah. Other than that, quick recap of the weekend, and then I'll let you go. Providence storms back against Butler, luckiest team in the nation.
Okay, hold on though. Hold on. I'm just curious because I don't have a dog in the fight. They keep doing this over and over again. At some point,
It's unreal.
They should get at least some compliment to say that they keep doing this. I mean, it's impressive that they keep winning these close games. I get it, maybe that's lucky, but
you're down 17 to Butler. You're down 19 to Butler. You shouldn't be in that position.
No, but things happen.
You're down 19 points to maybe the third worst team in the Big East.
Hey, they've been playing better recently, but I agree. I mean, it shouldn't be in that position. It's still impressive.
But you want to know what I said when I was very happy? I felt like Nostradamus. They were down. Providence is down 19. I was with a few buddies. They were indulging in sports betting. They had I made the bet pregame. I told them Butler +3 is a lock. That's an absolute lock. And they're like, you only think Providence is going to win by 3? I was like, yes. And then when Butler went up by 19, I said, okay, Providence money line at +1100 is also a lock. And I felt like Nostradamus because I just saw it. I saw it playing out how lucky this team is. They don't win big. They go down, they come back, and they win in the luckiest manner possible. Like, I get it. It's a joke now. Like, it was a joke, the Kim Pom rating. But when you watch this team, it's unreal what they do. It's unreal. That stuff, it's gotta run out at one point. And I just don't want to be on the wrong side when it does.
It's true. Or they go all the way and go to the Final Four like UCLA did. Which, by the way, we can talk about them real quick. You worried?
About UCLA?
Yeah.
Did they not win last night?
I think they probably did. I'm just they.
I was saying that. Yeah, I saw they were dominating, and I turned it off.
They're just kind of struggling.
Yeah. No, I'm not worried about UCLA. Their tournament. So they're built for March.
I just don't know, man.
I mean, they've been winning the games in front of them. I mean, they'll probably lose at Oregon. They probably will. I'm certain of it.
I just think their philosophy is, and they shoot a lot of mid-range jumpers. It's just not.
They don't have an identity. It's always weird when you have a defensive coach for an offensive players. Like when your players are offensive and your coach is defensive, it's always a weird matchup. I'm not saying it doesn't work, but it's always odd.
I'm not sure they make the Sweet 16.
I would hate to be the 1 seed. If they get the 4 seed like they're being projected, I would hate to be that 1 seed.
I think they might lose in the second round.
Really? You think so? They could. They're very volatile. Like, they can lose to anybody. They can beat anybody.
The run last year just has really kind of changed the perception on their team. They're still that same team that was 20-11. I mean, they've had some guys, obviously. They're better than that. But they've still got that team in them, and I just don't know if I don't think they win it. Like, I don't think they're going to get to the Final Four.
No.
Which everybody thought they were probably going to start the season. What were they? Preseason ranked?
They were number 2.
They're about right where they should be.
It was Gonzaga and them at 1 and 2.
12 to 10 to 15 is a good spot for them.
I think so. I don't think they're overranked or underranked or whatever. I think they're good where they're at.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. What next episode do you want to do? wheel of bubble teams, we can do some live. We're doing some live planning
do
right
it.
now.
Indiana will be on there. Hopefully you get them.
Oh, that would hurt me. That would hurt me. That would
That'd be great.
hurt me inside. But yeah, thanks for joining me. Thank you guys for listening. Man, I'm getting ready for March. I'm ready to start recording those episodes, but bear with us until then. We're going to give you all the coverage you need to pick your teams in March, whatever. But thank you for listening. Like and subscribe. Leave us 5 stars. Whatever you got to do to show us some love. We really appreciate it. Connor, don't get any Twitter fights today. How about that? Maybe that's a good mantra for today. No Twitter fights.
Yeah. All right. I'll do that.
Love you guys.